Hi guys, how are you? Hope you are doing good. Welcome back to the channel Agriculture Makes Strong. Today let us discuss about rice farming and some of the important points related to the rice and some of the useful points which are related to competitive exams like ARS, SRF, JRF and some PhD entrance examinations, and some of the important facts are also covered in this video. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. Do not forget to click on the bell icon. Before going to the video, you do not skip the video until the end and learn more about the rice. Let us discuss about rice and some of the introduction points related to rice, or like the botanical name of the rice is Oryza sativa, and in India how the distribution of rice has been happened, and the most rice is the most important and extensively grown food crop, and based on the archaeological evidence, the rice was believed to be have first been domesticated in the region of the Yangtze River Valley in the China, and related to the protein contents, and we'll discuss about some of the points related to the what is the hulling percentage and feed submergence. And coming to the first point, rice contains the proteins like 6 to 7% of proteins and 2 to 2.5% of fat and low amount of calcium. These are the contents of the rice, and some of the proteins and nutrients in the rice are lost during the milling. And next, coming to the hulling percentage of the rice is like 66%, and also two-thirds of the paddy, and some of the submergence depth will be like 5 centimeters of deep water during reproductive and grain formation stage is very beneficial for the rice field. And the rice grain relatively which is rich in the lysine, the percentage of lysine will be like which is 4% of the total protein fraction. And coming to the protein which is present in the rice is like originin, and propanil is the most widely used post emergent herbicide in the rice. These are the some of the points related to the. Let us discuss about some of the institutes which is related to the rice and some of the most important points where the headquarters are situated of the institutes of the rice. CRRI, where the Central Rice Research Institute, which was established in 1946 and in Odisha. And let us see about next International Rice Research Institute IRRI, where it has been situated at Manila, Philippines, was established and in 1960. And AICRIP, All India Coordinated Rice Improvement Projects, Hyderabad, Rajendranagar, which is established at 1965. And coming to the area and distribution of the rice, let us see some of the productivity, production, and rice area in the worldwide. And we will discuss about the current population growth rate, which is the how the per capita consumption has been developing in the rice. And let's see, from the since independence, the area of rice increased to 1.5 times, and also the productivity 3 times 700 kg per hectare, and the production is greater than 4 times 20 million tons to 105 million tons. And also coming to the total rice area in the world will be like occupying 163.3 million hectares, of which about 132 million hectares in Asia. And coming to the current rate population growth 1.4%, and per capita consumption is like 215 to 230 grams per day. It is essential for the people to consumption, and the projected demand for the rice by 2021 would be like around 130 million tons. So to overcome this gap, and also for the consumption purposes of the world, the rice production has to be increased, and many researches has to be done in the rice for the production and useful for the farmers and also for the per capita consumption. And let us see, the rice production is like being increased for greater than 2 million tons annually for the meeting the. Now you can see about the origin of the rice, where Indo-Myanmar regions and center of regions of cultivated area is like Odisha, Jaipur tract. And let us see about the classification and where it includes family, subfamily, tribe and genus. Family is like Gramineae and or Poaceae, subfamily Bombardiaceae, and tribe Oryzae and genus Oryza. We will Coming to the genus Oryza, there are 24 species and out of which two are cultivated, that is Oryza sativa and Oryza glabrima. Coming under the Oryza sativa is the diploid which is having 24 and the counts cosmopolitan in nature, and it has the three subspecies like Oryza sativa indica and Oryza sativa japonica, Oryza sativa javanica. These are the three subspecies comes under the Oryza sativa, which is Asian rice. And coming to the Oryza sativa indica, it shows the growth throughout the tropics and subtropics in India. And in from structure, you will be seeing that Oryza sativa indica is having this tall stature, weak stem, droopy leaves, and having the high tithering. They are responsible to the high input. These are the characters, some of the characters for the Oryza sativa indica. Coming to the Oryza sativa japonica, it is grown in temperate and subtropical regions of Japan. And however, two varieties released from IRRI 142 MS11 and IRRI 152 are grown in tropics of Philippines. And coming to stature, short stature, sturdy stem. Coming to the erect in nature, it is narrow erect and dark green leaves. These are some of the characters of Oryza sativa japonica. Coming to the Oryza sativa javanica or blue rice, grown in Indonesia, having some of the few tillers and in tall stature, sturdy stem, long panicles and long bold grains. Productivity, if we compare three subspecies, japonica is the first and javanica is the second and India is the third. And coming to the Oryza glabrima, which is an African rice, which is grown in West Africa, and the short grounded legules, glabrous lemma and palea. The palea is lacking secondary branches, prone to lodging and shattering in panicles. CG14 is a variety of Oryza glabrima. These are the points to be noted under the Oryza glabrima, which is very useful. Now I want to discuss about taxonomy, the taxonomy of the rice, and that in rice it is a short duration crop, and this rice is a self-pollinated crop and a C3 plant. What is meant by C3 plant? As you know that C3 plant is a plant which initial product of the assimilation of carbon dioxide through photosynthesis is 3-phosphoglycerate, and 3-phosphoglycerate which will be having the 3 carbon atoms. This is called C3 plant. The rice is a C3 plant. In upland rice, first in upland rice and the lowland rice, the difference is the coleorhiza emerges first in the upland rice, and in the lowland rice the coleoptile emerges. In the root system, it is a fibrous root system, and it is having the top 20 centimeters in transplanted condition and while deeper in depot condition. It has two types coming to the primary or seminal or embryonic temporary roots. These are all called as the root system first type, and it is developed by radicle and later dies after the secondary advantageous root emerges. First, it is developed by radicle, and also it dies after second advantageous roots will be emerging. Coming to the second type, secondary or permanent or advantageous or real function roots. Arachis form a lower node of the culm. And what is the culm? Culm is an jointed stem made of the series of nodes and internodes. Between the nodes and internodes, the joint stem is called culm, and the halo except at the nodes. Each node has buds and leaves. The buds produces primary tillers, since it is secondary and tertiary tillers are produced. And in the shoot system, it is composed of culm, leaves, panicle and inflorescence. These are the parts in the shoot system, which is comprising the shoot system, and tillering continues up to 60 days after transplanting. Coming to the leaf and panicle. Leaf. Some of the characters includes in the leaf, like leaf shows the sheath and the blade, and sheath completely covers the internode, and ligules, it is a papery structure which is at the junction of sheath and the blade. The length of the ligules is more prominent than width, and the two auricles are also present at the junction of sheath and the blade. Coming to the panicle, if you see the panicle, the inflorescence panicle, a group of spikelets are arising, and the panicle is a branch which bears the spikelet, and the spikelet shows two sterile lemma plus one lemma and palea and flower. And hull and the fruit and six stamens and one pistil. Hull, which is comprising of lemma, which is outer part, and palea, which is inner part, and the fruit is also known as caryopsis. This is the important point for the rice. Fruit of the rice is known as caryopsis. Caryopsis means single seed is fused with a wall of pericarp. And coming to the next, growth and development stages, physiologically divided into four main phases. Vegetative phase, it shows that 50 to 60 days of duration is taken for the vegetative phase, and in the direct seeded rice there is entire vegetative phase in the field, while in the transplanted rice it is 40% in the nursery and 60% in the field. And some of the subphases in the vegetative phases are like seedling and nursery stage, transplanting stage and tillering stage, and vegetative lag stage. Let us discuss about these following subphases in detail. Coming to seedling and nursery stage, it shows that it lasts until the seedling starts rooting and the first 4 to 6 leaves which develops, and it exhausts almost entire endosperm which is having 3N. And coming to the transplanting stage, it includes and covers the periods of uprooting of the seedling till the recovery of following the transplanting. And coming to the tillering stage, where tillering stage the rice produces 350 to 400 tillers per meter square, and it also covers the periods from initial tiller to total tillerings. The coming to the vegetative lag phase, it includes some of the points like the period between the maximum tillering and panicle initiation, and also it is absent in early maturing, also known as photoperiodic sensitive phase. The vegetative lag phase is known as photoperiodic sensitive phase in the vegetative phase. Coming to the reproductive phase, it includes the duration of the reproductive phase will be 35 days duration. It has the following subphases like vegetative phase. It has the panicle initiation which comes at 21 to 25 days before harvesting, which starts at 50 to 60 days after transplanting. And coming to the internodes elongation and the booting phase. Here internodes elongates and the booting phase starts. And here next stage is heading stage, which comes 15 days after the booting. And after the heading stage, flowering stage comes 20 to 25 days after booting. Let us discuss about the next phase, which is ripening phase. It has the duration of 25 to 35 days, and it has the surfaces like milk stage and dough stage. In milk stage, it includes 7 to 12 days after anthesis. The watery content in the grain which turns into milky inconsistency in the milking stage. And coming to the dough stage, it takes 2 to 3 weeks duration, and in this stage you can observe that milky grains which turn to soft dough stage and later to the hard dough stage. And coming to the last stage, which is maturity stage, in this stage the grains turn hard and free from the greenish tint. These are the some of the phases which are included in these phases. Coming to the soil, let us discuss about the soil and climate. Here you can see the best suitable soil for the rice is clay or loamy soil, and where the semi-aquatic plant grow best under the submerged conditions. And the some of the suitable and optimum pH for the soil pH for the rice cultivation is 4 to 6. And coming to the climate, it extends from 30 degrees south and also 45 degrees north and 50 degrees north in China. And in India, between latitudes of 8 degree north to 34 degree north. And it requires warm and humid climate, and rice requires 100 to 150 centimeter average annual rainfall. These are the points related to the climate. And coming to the growth phases and sowing time. Here you can observe that the table is showing that the growth period will be like temperature 21 to 37 and blooming 26.5 to 29.5, panicle initiation 20 to 22, ripening 20 to 25 degrees average temperature. Coming to the sowing time, like Kharif or autumn or West Bengal, May to June, like harvesting time will be September, October. In Rabi, growing season, and based on the harvesting time, local name will be Aman or Afghani. Sowing time will be June to July. Harvesting time will be November to December. Growing season will be summer, like local name will be Boro or Dalwa. The sowing time will be December to January, and harvesting time will be March to April. The most important points is like sowing time and harvesting time of the these crop, these seasons and these crops. Important for the competitive exams. And coming to the cultivation method, there are two methods. One is wet and one is dry. Coming to the dry methods and wet methods. Let us see about dry method of cultivation. In this dry method of cultivation, they followed in uplands and also depend on the rainfalls for their water requirement. What is meant by upland rice? Uh, the upland rice that may be having no standing water on the soil surface for 28 hours after session of rainfall or irrigation. This is called upland rice. The sowing done in May to June in the southwest monsoon, in September in northeast monsoon regions. And other names are like Oz or Ashu, Assam, Biali, Odi and Badai or Kauri, UP. Sowing methods in dry and semi-arid regions. It will be like broadcasting methods will be a drilling method, dibbling methods will be followed in dry and semi-dry areas for the sowing methods. In broadcasting method, you will be seeing the seed rate of 60 to 100 kg seed per hectare, and for drilling method 30 to 50 kg seeds per hectare has been sown. Coming to the wet cultivation method or transplanting. If you see the crop, there will be first field should be drained, and first seed field should be leveled. After that it should be drained. After that in drained field there are two methods of cultivation, like dry seedling or wet seedling on your option. In dry seedling, if you see the sowing in the seed bed, it shows the problems of Cyprus rhodantis and Cynodon dactylon. In wet seedlings, there will be no problems of weeds like Cyprus rhodantis and Cynodon dactylon, and it sowing done after the puddling. And coming to the dry seedling, there will be sowing methods like broadcasting and drilling. In the wet seedling, broadcasting, hand weeding or inter-row cultivation is not practiced, and in the drum seeding, hand weeding or inter-row cultivation is possible. These two methods are possible in the wet seeding. This is the flow chart of the direct seedling method of rice. Let us see about nursery raising. There are three methods. First one is dry nursery, second is wet nursery, and third one is depot method. We will see one by one stepwise. In dry nursery, we will see that 2.5 to 3 kg of seeds per 100 meter square nursery is sufficient, and the major problem in the dry nursery is we will be seeing chlorosis in the dry areas, and calcareous and saline alkaline soils are the major problem for the dry nursery, and iron sulfate foliar spray is recommended for the problems. And coming to the wet nursery has been followed in India under irrigated conditions, and also seedling are ready for transplanting in short period 20 to 25 days, and seed rate is same as dry nursery. Coming to the Depot method is one of the nursery method which is followed in rice cultivation, and it is introduced in India. And growing seedlings on concrete floor or raised bed of the soil are covered with polythene sheets or banana sheets. It is the main important thing you should notice in the Depot method, where the seedlings are grown on the concrete floor or raised bed of the soil, or they will be covered by the polythene sheets and banana leaves. And seedlings are ready for transplanting in short time, like 11 to 14 days after the sowing of crop. And less area is required, 30 to 40 meter square area for 1 hectare. Transplanting is sufficient at 1.5 kg seeds per meter or 3 kg pre-germinated seeds per meter square. 45 to 60 kg seeds per hectare are needed for the Depot method. Let us see about next topic, transplanting. The next method is transplanting. After the nursery, we will take the step transplanting. Transplanting during Kharif season, it is the best time to fourth first fortnight of July. And however, northwest India first fortnight of June is better due to low temperature at the flowering stage in August to September. And coming to the transplanting during Rabi, last week of December is good for the transplanting of Boro rice. And the wet season, 25 to 30 days of whole seedlings is better for transplanting. And delayed transplanting, like it can be taken delayed transplanting with 40 to 45 to 50 days old seedlings is better for the delayed transplanting. And for the transplanting for the Kharif season, 20 to 25 days old seedlings are used. And also for Rabi season, the age of the seedling should be 30 to 40 old. And coming to spacing of the crop, the spacing of the crop should be like 20 into 10 centimeter square and 20 into 15 centimeter square and 15 into 15 centimeter square are equally good. And we will see about the seedlings per hill. The hybrid varieties will be like taking 2 to 3 seedlings per hill, and hybrids will be 1 to 2 seedlings per hill. Transplanting depth should be 2 to 4 centimeters, and double transplanting should be like 21 to 30 days old seedlings are transplanted at 15 into 20 centimeter squares of spacing. After the 21 to 30 days, the transplanting in secondary nursery, the age of the seedling of the main field should be 60 to 70 days after transplanting in the main field. Coming to the photosensitive varieties are also preferred for the double transplanting method. And coming to the nutrient management, let us see about nutrient management. In nutrient management, nitrogen plays a very important role. It shows the crop, how the crop has been healthy or not. We will come through the nitrogen. If any nitrogen deficiency we can observe in the crop, we can take the measures and fulfill the crop with the all the nutrient required. So in the nitrogen, we will see about nitrogen use efficiency in the rice should be like 30 to 40%, and the recommended dose for the hybrid yield varieties will be like 100 to 150 kg per hectare. And also recommended dose for hybrids will be like 180 to 200 kg per hectare. And also denitrification is the most alternative drying and wetting method, because when draining, it shows the nitrate is more formed and lost during submergence. Use of urea is the most susceptible to runoff, and when surface broadcasted, non-polar and can't retain on the soil surfaces. And they are surface broadcasted because it is highly soluble and non-polar, so they can't retain on the soil. So the urea is the most susceptible for the runoff. You should see that urea is playing a major role, and it is susceptible to the runoff. The fertilizer should always be applied in reduced zone, and DAP is an excellent source of the N and P for the basal applications. And coming to the reduce the denitrification and leaching process, some of the points should be noted, like use of pre-incubated urea, like 1:5 ratio of urea on the soil should be used. And we should follow like a stand for incubation like 36 to 48 hours, and pellet application should be done in 1:10 parts of the fertilizer and soil. Use of neem coated, sulfur coated or lac coated urea should be used to reduce the denitrification and the leaching process in the rice. And use of mud ball technique in the China, it is used for the purpose of reducing the denitrification and leaching. As the denitrification increases, there will be loss in the crop. So we should reduce the denitrification and the leaching by using these following steps. How nitrogen use efficiency can be increased in rice field. We will see some of the process, like it shows like a split application, deep placements, nitrogen inhibitors, slow release nitrogen fertilizers, urea supergranules. By using this, there will be nitrogen use efficiency can be increased. We think so. We will see in deeply. Like in split irrigation, we will see there will be two splits for the medium and short duration varieties, and also there are three splits for the long duration varieties. For short duration, we'll be having two splits, and for the long duration, we'll be having three splits. And higher split dose is used in sandy soils. And coming to the deep placements, we'll be having like in case phosphorus fertilizers also preferred, but also nitrogen also preferred. It reduces the ammonia volatilizations. In the deep placements, there will be reduced in the ammonia volatilizations, and also deep placements is reduced zone prevents ammonia formation and ultimately denitrification. So coming to the nitrogen inhibitors, nitrification process and the leaching and denitrification are retarded. And for example, like HT and neem seed extracts are also used as nitrogen inhibitors. And coming to the slow release nitrogen fertilizers, the coating of fertilizers like urea and polymer coated urea and inherent properties or slow release of chemicals, and the urea form widely used in USA and the lawns. This slow release nitrogen fertilizers also increases the nitrogen use efficiency. And the urea super granules. In this, the main principle will be based on the Chinese mud ball techniques. And in this, nitrogen fertilizer is placed in. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel.